Welcome to Airbus Direct for a UK special edition on this lovely Friday at Farnborough Air Show. The A350 left the air show yesterday, flown by British test pilots Peter Chandler and Frank Chapman. They did a low pass over Rolls-Royce in Derby, where the Trent XWB engines, which are exclusive to this aircraft, are made. The A350 wasn't able to stay around all week, unfortunately. The aircraft is still in the intensive certification flight test campaign, which we expect to complete in September. But not only the engines and pilots are British, the wings of this aircraft are also designed and built in the UK. But you haven't missed out. British wings will be right now, right here on display, flying on the A380 and the A400M. I'll now hand over to Robert Gage, who will be taking you smoothly and quietly, much like our aircraft, through the air display today.
Well, hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Farnborough Air Show. It's Friday, it's the last of the trade days before we have opened the show up to the public. And I'm Robert Gage. I'm going to be talking you through some of the flying that's taking place with the Airbus aircraft at Farnborough today. With me to my right is Thomas Berger. He's Product Marketing Director for the A380, and he will be my source of expertise on the largest commercial aircraft in the world. And to my left is Kieran Daly from A400M in Airbus and Defence and Space, and he will be giving us some information about the military airlifter aircraft. Looking out now, the E-Fan is still in the sky. That's an Airbus Group electric aircraft that they're looking to bring in around 2017 as one of the first two-seat trainer aircraft. That's just doing its display over the Farnborough airfield now. As I look out, the A380 is waiting to start its display, and what a truly exciting display it invariably is. So I'll start off by talking a little bit more about the A380 while we're waiting for her to spool up and leave. Thomas, this is a big aircraft. We have 5 operators in London Heathrow at the moment, and it's starting to be seen at airports across the world. What's next for the A380?
Well, the A380 is now flying into 41 airports around the world. So those airports are the mega city hubs, and this is where really people want to fly. It's very concentrated, so we're going to have 2 more operators into Heathrow by the end of the year, and that kind of concentration is going to continue. And these airports are constrained in the most part, and the A380 is a way for them to enhance their capacity through upgauging to larger aircraft. And this is happening at all the airports that the A380 is flying into.
Just remind me, how many people can an A380 hold? I mean, what's the usual configuration?
Yeah, actually, the one that we're seeing on the flight line now is actually a flight test aircraft, so it doesn't have a cabin. We keep those to do developmental testing. But in service, the average is around 500 seats in a very comfortable 3-class or 4-class layout. So all of those, the economy class seats that are 18 inches are comfort standard for long haul. But the maximum it can accommodate is 853 seats. But that's a relatively small part of the market, as it has been for other large aircraft. So in the most part, we're seeing around 500 seats into the market going forward.
Thank you for that, Thomas. And I believe the E-Fan is now down. Yes, the E-Fan is now on the ground.
Gearing up, ready to go. So we've got 2 pilots on board, Hugues van der Stickel and Christophe Kai from our flight test division, and they'll be doing the display today. Always very impressive for its quietness, and also for how nimble, to demonstrate how nimble the A380 is despite being a large aircraft. You'll see as the aircraft takes off its incredible takeoff performance. In fact, it's just spooling up right now, and just note that it takes off in less space than most large aircraft, even though it carries many more passengers.
Thank you, Thomas. We'll leave it to the A380. Now, I think it's fair to say that I wouldn't particularly want to be on that when it's doing that manoeuvre. That's quite a steep takeoff. Obviously, it normally doesn't take off that angle normally, but that's part of the display. Is it right that it's only test pilots that are allowed on aircraft when they're doing displays? We don't allow anyone else on there?
That's right. I've actually spent the last 10 years trying to get on board the aircraft during display, but unfortunately it's only the flight test guys that can do it, and they do it very well. You saw the takeoff run, not like at all a commercial takeoff, very quick up into the air, now a wing over, and they're sort of going downwind, bringing it around. So quite slow speed for the most part. The display takeoff around 120 knots. They'll be bringing it around within 1G mostly. So it looks impressive, but it's very much within the capabilities of the aircraft.
What's also remarkable about the A380 is that my car has actually got a larger turning circle than it. Given the size of the aircraft, it really does manage to get around in a very small space. Are you finding this is something that operators are appreciating?
Well, on the ground, it's in the air, it's maneuverable on the ground as well, and this maneuverability is afforded by the fact that it's got a very large wing, so up to 50% bigger, 50% bigger than the jumbo jet. So that gives it this amazing takeoff and climb capability. So that's what you're seeing in action: a British-built wing on a fantastic aircraft, giving that performance.
Yes, the British-built wings are actually made in Broughton factory in North Wales, which is about 4 miles to the west of Chester, just across the border. And the manufacturing process for the A380 is pretty remarkable too. The convoy that takes all the aircraft parts, the fuselage, the wings, the horizontal tailplane, in fact, they all go via a very well-planned and well-executed process that takes them on rivers and ferries, also back onto the road and then to Toulouse. Thomas, this is a very quiet aircraft for the size of it. I mean, it's about 500 tons. Is that the maximum takeoff weight? 550?
Yeah, it's 575 tons is the maximum, and yeah, it's generating about half the noise of existing large aircraft, except now when it's just powering up to go around. But that's one of the signatures, not only on the outside, but also in the inside in the cabin. Half the noise in the cabin, in the inside, and also on the outside.
Well, I think we'll forgive it for making a bit of noise when it's powering up. We'd wanted to do that, really, wouldn't we? So. Now, I had the pleasure of travelling on one of these earlier this year, and I have to say it was a fabulous aircraft to travel on as a passenger. How are the customers that are flying it already? I mean, what sort of feedback are they getting from their passengers about the A380?
Well, the overwhelming feedback is from passengers is that they love the experience. It's totally unique. It's immediately identifiable as an A380, and that's what airlines love, the fact that it's a differentiator. So it's giving them something with the lowest costs and the highest revenue potential, and also something that is very appealing to the passengers. And it's doing very well in service. So right now, 136 aircraft flying around the world. Into 41 airports, and over 1.5 million passengers are enjoying the aircraft every month, 160 takeoffs a day. So all those facts, but just to say that it's around the world and it's pretty much everywhere at every major airport right now.
Thanks for that. And now Thomas can take a break and have a bit of a breather as the A400M gets ready to depart. We've noticed this year is this giant game of tag that we play. The aircraft rolls along the runway just before the preceding one comes in, so you can almost get them in the same camera frame if you're in the right place. So I'll hand over now to Kieran, and Kieran, this is quite a special show for the pilot of this aircraft.
Yes, Robert. This, of course, is an aircraft which will enter service with the Royal Air Force later this year. So we're very proud to be showing it at Farnborough. We expect to deliver the first aircraft in around about September, and we're very proud that that Airbus currently supplied the existing newest aircraft in the RAF, which is the Voyager tanker. And also that we will be providing the next aircraft for the Royal Air Force as well. And those are going to be based at RAF Brize Norton down the motorway from here, which will then really be one of the biggest transport bases in the world, the sort of base that normally you only associate with the United States Air Force. So Airbus really does have an enormously important role to play in the RAF in the coming years.
And the man at the controls today is Ed Strongman, I believe, who I think is on his last Farnborough Air Show.
Well, in fact, earlier in the week, Ed was flying the aircraft, and as you say, it's his last Farnborough. He's had a very long and distinguished career at Airbus, was the first man to fly the A400M, and he's coming up to retirement, which happens even to test pilots. Today there is a pilot called Karl-Heinz May, who is a German, as you would imagine, flying the aircraft. Karl-Heinz was the second was one of the very first pilots to fly the aircraft back in 2009, 2010, and he and Ed have basically taken this on the display circuit now for many years. And in fact, I remember being at the Berlin Air Show in 2010 where we first saw this display which Ed had devised, and people were really astonished by what you could do with such a large aircraft in terms of manoeuvrability, and in fact since then, even over the years, the display has remained much the same, including the famous 110 degree banked wing over, which we'll see shortly, which is still quite an astonishing sight after all this time.
And it's certainly performing some impressive manoeuvres at the moment. So we call it the military airlifter. What will its purpose be when it's? I mean, it's delivered already to France, you say, and Turkey, I believe. What will the various air forces use it for?
Yeah, the point about the A400M, it's not quite like any aircraft that's come before. We're really rewriting the rule book in terms of military transport. And why I say that is because for the first time now, you have an aircraft which will fly at more or less jet-like speeds, even though it has propellers. It'll fly, for example, at nearly 3/4 of the speed of sound over intercontinental distances, which previously was something that you always needed a large jet aircraft to do. But at the same time, when it arrives there, it can land on extremely short runways, and in fact, it can land on gravel strips, which are not even prepared runways at all. That's ever so important. For example, the French Air Force recently took the aircraft to Mali in Africa, where they have some important operations there. And instead of having to then transport the vehicles and so on that the aircraft carried 900 kilometres across the country, where they're at risk of being attacked by the rebels, with the A400M, they will be able to fly very close to the battlefield and just a few kilometres away. And that's also important for humanitarian operations, where you want to take relief supplies to countries to the scene of an earthquake or a flood. But when you get there, you want to be as close as possible to the disaster. So it really brings a completely new capability to the world, and we're finding that the world's air forces are extremely intrigued and very impressed by that when they see that we can really do it.
And the A400M itself is assembled in Seville, I believe, that's correct. The wings are made in Bristol, however, in the UK. The Filton plant is home to most of our engineers. We also have a number of test facilities there, but we also have the wing manufacturing facility for this aircraft as well. So that's the wing over.
That is the wing over, and it gets a round of applause just as it always does. It's an astonishing manoeuvre, but like all the display, there are real aircraft capabilities being demonstrated here. The reason for that manoeuvre is that the A400M will spend quite a lot of its time flying at extremely low level, trying to avoid the enemy, so that people don't realise that it's bringing in its supplies. If you then hit bad weather or you're attacked, you immediately need to pull out very quickly, and then possibly get back into low level, and that's when you need that dramatic wing over to be able to perform those sort of manoeuvres. So it's not just an air show stunt. There's a real reason for doing it.
As was mentioned earlier, some of the aircraft that have been here all week are not here today. The A350, the brand new lightweight carbon composite aircraft, 53% carbon composite and advanced materials, that's gone back to Toulouse, and to get back into the flight test program, an intensive flight test program it needs to undergo before it enters into service at the end of this year. But hopefully for Farnborough in 2016 it'll be able to spend a little bit longer here. And we also had on display here this year the ACJ 319, the Airbus corporate jet. Cost you about $100 million if you wanted to buy one. But a very attractive and very pleasant aircraft inside. Boasts the tallest and widest cabin of any corporate jet that's available on the market today. We also shouldn't forget as well, on static display is the C295. That's another Airbus Defence and Space aircraft. Just as we're waiting for the A400M to come back, just could you give us a little run over of the C295? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Yes, Robert. The 295 is quite an important aircraft for us. Of course, it's much smaller than the A400M, and there are really two roles for it. So it can be a basic transport, a medium-sized transport, carries about 9 or 10 tons, which sells very well in that role. But also, you can put all kinds of mission equipment in there, and it makes a great anti-submarine warfare aircraft, maritime patrol aircraft, search and rescue. And this year, in fact, we sold 20 of them already, which halfway through the year, for that kind of aeroplane, is really great going. It wouldn't impress people like Thomas so much, but 20 is good for us, and we'll encourage people to come and take a look at it here while they're at the show, because one day we hope that'll be an RAF service as well.
That's the A400M back on the tarmac. It may have another party trick up its sleeve. We'll wait and see.
I don't think he's going to do it.
Well, the A400M has been reversing up the runway, so may do it again. We'll wait and see. Well, that more or less concludes the Airbus part of the flying display at Farnborough 2014. I hope you've enjoyed it. I just want to say thank you very much to my colleagues Thomas and to Kieran for coming along today in the searing heat of Farnborough and Hampshire to come and tell us a little bit more about the aircraft you're seeing today. I'm going to hand over shortly to for a short clip pardon me, with Tom Williams, our Executive Vice President of Programmes, who is responsible for the A380 programme amongst others. But it just remains for me to say thank you for watching. We won't be broadcasting live tomorrow or Sunday because you can come down here yourself and see the planes operating for yourself. So thank you very much and have a very good weekend.
I think all air shows are important in terms of being a focal point to collect orders, for people to come together, not only customers but also with suppliers. So whether it's in Farnborough or Le Bourget or anywhere else, I think it's always important to get that kind of concentration, get people to make up their minds, get people to sign contracts. I think from a UK point of view, this year was particularly interesting because of course we had launched the 330neo. And I have to say, incredible success. I think John and the team have really excelled themselves in the last few weeks, considering we only made a formal launch decision last week to get nearly 120 orders or commitments for a programme so quickly. And from a UK point of view, that's important because, of course, it's got UK wings, not just, but it's also got UK engines from Rolls-Royce, UK landing gear. So it's a very British aeroplane. So I think it does give a strong momentum and it sends a lot of messages about what Airbus means to the economy and to jobs in the UK. UK supply chain is important. I mean, it's big impact from an Airbus point of view, not only for the 11,000 people we employ in the UK, but we generate about 100,000 jobs in the total UK economy. So it's a significant contribution. I think the UK, we tend to think about wings being the UK, but of course we shouldn't forget a lot of great work that goes on in landing gear with people like Messier, in fuel systems, in thrust reversers with Aircell at Burnley. So there are many parts of the UK that are heavily involved in Airbus programmes. And of course the UK aerospace industry in terms of export value is number 2 in the world. So aerospace is really important for the UK economy. I think the future can be a very strong one, can be a very bright future, but we need to make sure that there continues to be a strong focus on, first of all, getting the right people. And that means bringing young people into aerospace, getting them excited at school time, school level, in subjects like mathematics and physics, so that we bring through the really bright, highly motivated people we need in our business. It is also about keeping the enthusiasm. There's a great enthusiasm for aerospace in the UK. It's also about having a clear policy from a government point of view. It's important the government understand how research and technology and the long-term approach that's needed in aerospace, all of that works together. So we've got to have a close working relationship with government to make that work as well. So I think there are many elements. If we get them right, that can really protect and drive the UK aerospace economy.